Hey, Mike here, back with another installment of Pillaging the Archives, in which I randomly select 12 records from my collection, and I discuss them in a completely half-assed manner. So, let's do it. First stop, Sweden. It's Overdrive, Swords and Axes, 1984. This is a Canadian pressing on Bonsai. Pretty standard metal band. Musically proficient, guitar playing's really good. My first exposure to him was back in the Walkman days when I got the Bonsai Axe compilation on cassette, and the track "Mission of Destruction" from this record was on it, and I love that song. I still think it's the best track on this. I mean, this record it's hit and miss. There's a few tracks on it that I'm, are a little weaker and a little more drawn out than I'd like, but for the most part, pretty solid band. I've listened to some more recent stuff by them, and I wasn't quite as jazzed on it, but plus none of them had a fucking cover like that. That's awesome. And I don't know if this guy's still in the band or if he still looks like fucking Rod Stewart, but stop it. So yeah, Overdrive, Swedish metal. Yeah, what more can I say? Next, also from 1984, it's on Elektra Records, Belfegore. Complete change of pace from Overdrive. It's their self-titled record. Like I said, German band. I remember as a kid, the video for the opening track on this record, All That I Wanted, was it had pretty regular rotation on Much Music, which, as I said before, is Canada's answer to MTV. But it was like this dude running down a beach, and he was like throwing shit behind him because something's chasing him, and the video is kind of shot from the perspective of whatever's chasing him, kind of like Evil Dead style. But yeah, I like that song. I like the darker songs on this. Like Questions is a really good one. They're kind of an industrial goth synth type thing. It's the songs I like still hold the test of time for me, but that could just really just be nostalgia. I've listened to other stuff that they've released, and it's not as good as this. This is all you really need to own, but I don't think this record's very expensive. It used to turn up here all the time. I don't see it as much anymore, probably because of the video pushes. We got quite a few copies here in Ontario and Canada, I guess. But yeah, Belfegore, man. Next, from 1985 on Slime Records, Morally Bankrupt, from San Francisco, California. I remember seeing photos of these guys in the If Life's a Bowl of Cherries, What Am I Doing in the Pit photo zine that Maximum Rock and Roll put out way back when. Yeah, so I decided to take a chance on the record when I did see it. It's solid, like skate punk, skate thrash at times, I guess. The drumming's really good. Dude's not afraid of the cowbell at all. The kind of sucky thing with the record is that there are some other tracks that are more like jam tracks, like like these guys heard the big boys and were like, hey, let's try and do this, but make it fourth rate, and that's kind of it. But the actual like the punk and hardcore songs on this are really good, and it's not a very expensive record, so I mean it's worth taking a shot. Not the greatest thing I've heard, but certainly not the worst. From 1986, Mottek, from Germany. It's on Starving Missile Records. I've always liked the name of that label. Pretty weird cover. This is kind of like driving, anthemic, kind of hardcore punk. There's a little bit of metal on the guitars. It's pretty standard fare for German hardcore of this time. But certainly not bad. It's just not the greatest I've ever heard, but it's good. Next, also from, is it also from 86? Yeah, it is. It's on Children of the Revolution Records. It's the Unlimited Genocide split between A.O.A and Oi Polloi, two Scottish bands. A.O.A stands for All Our Anger. They're fucking awesome, but it's almost like they kind of remind me of like early Italian hardcore mixed with like UK anarcho-punk of this time period. It's awesome though. And then A.O.A. Polloi, long-standing band. I think they're still around. It's more like kind of a Discharge meets Motorhead kind of thing. But there's still just straight up punk in it, and you know, a little of the anarcho-punk sound, I guess. Good band. I like A.O.A. better, at least on this record. But yeah, back cover, pretty uninteresting. But yeah, don't see this around too much. But if you get it, or if you see it, pick it up. It's worth it. 1987. Capitalist Alienation. Self-titled. It's on Alienation Records. It's a band from Montreal. Very similar to early DRI, but it's kind of dirtier and almost rawer sounding. But it also kind of weaves its way into like that almost early, like kind of blurcore thing, like Psycho Sin or something. It's super fucking fast. Hard record to find, fairly sought after by, at least by people up here. Cover art by A.O.A. from Voivod, as if you couldn't tell. Yeah, if you find this record, definitely pick it up if you're into fast, like raw hardcore. Don't see it too often, though, like I said. From 1988, Visions of Change. Self-titled, from England. It's on Firefly Records. First heard these guys on the North Atlantic Noise Attack comp. They did the song Under One Fist, which is on this. It's anthemic, driving, like I said, with Mottek. It reminds me a lot of something like Snuff, but it's not as depressing sounding, like not as melancholic as Snuff. There's a DC hardcore influence here too, which, you know, doesn't make it so like arty-ish or indie rockish or whatever that you can't appreciate it. It's definitely an underrated record. I feel that most of the people that like this are people that were there, you know, watching this band play live and shit, but it's good. Over to Japan, 2005, on Partners in Crime, Rocky and the Sweden, Total Hardcore. THC spelled out in weed. Cool. But, yeah. It's a pretty standard, although fucking great, Japanese hardcore. It's just Japanese hardcore has just that sound that if you've heard it, you know it. There's a fairly hearty, you know, straight up rock and roll vibe going on behind the scenes on this thing. Good fucking band, though. Put out a new LP last year. Sold out in about 8 seconds. I didn't get one. There's supposed to be a North American repress this year, but I haven't seen it yet. Hopefully they do it, though, because fucking good band. What's next here? Originally released in 1985, but this one was done in 2008, I think. Leusemia from Peru. This is on, well, obviously, like I said, this is a repress. This is on Lengua Armada, which is the label run by Martin from Los Crudos and Limp Wrist and Needles and a bunch of other bands. This is very, very Ramones influenced, but it also has that really raw, early, like 60s garage punk thing, kind of like Los Psychos, who are also from Peru, so it's probably no accident. It's pretty good. I don't know that I'd listen to it like a fucking ton, but, well, and I haven't listened to it a fucking ton, but yeah, it's good. Apparently the singer of this band is a well-respected musician guy in Peru, but I don't know anything about that, because I don't live in Peru. Next, Houston, Texas. Warmaster, Pyramid of the Necropolis. It's 2011, I believe, and it's on Torture Garden Picture Company. Like I said, from Houston, Texas. Members of this went on to be in Insect Warfare, who were fucking great. As the name would imply, Warmaster, these guys, they have a pretty heavy bolt thrower vibe going on. It's just heavy, crushing death metal, you know. nothing more you can really say about it. It's like, if you like, you know, heavy crushing death metal, then this is what you'll probably want to dive into. They've got some other releases. I think I have another 7-inch by them, but yeah. Warmaster. Next from Boston. Green Beret. Violence is their currency. It's on Side 2 Records. It's from 2012. I saw these guys in Toronto. They fucking killed. Drumming was awesome. Awesome. These guys, they kind of remind me of maybe an American equivalent to like something like Totalitar, where it kind of skirts the D-beat thing, but it's more like just really riff heavy, like crushing hardcore. A pretty good pedigree in this band. Like, the members have been in tons of other really, really solid bands. Social Circle and Positive Reinforcement and No Tolerance and Chain Rank and shit. But yeah, and everything I've heard by them is awesome. So it's worth picking up. Green Beret. And lastly, another Japanese band, Human Gas. This is the label was in Japanese characters, so I threw it through the translator, and it comes out to Mabaroshi Records. This was released in 2017. All the tracks on it were recorded from 1985 to 1987 and released on other shit. Most of it, I think. Super raw, sloppy, noisy hardcore with, like, you know, lozenge caliber vocals. Fitting well with like Confuse, Kuro, Guy, like those sorts of bands. Yeah, they were kind of a mystery at one point. Their record was available in such limited quantities that there were questions over here as to whether it actually existed. You know, in the pre-Discogs age and all that shit, where you could easily find stuff out. Yeah, it's really good. I think FOAD Records did is doing like a box set of it, and I couldn't imagine that there's actually that much material, but apparently there is. So yeah, that's all I got. Super short fucking video, but it's just less time you gotta look at my fucking head. See you later.